It's daybreak on the Rise News, and it's time for the press preview. A first look at the morning papers as they arrive, beginning with this day newspaper. Wanted Super Cup, Abba Kyari, 4 others in Ndlea custody over drug dealing. Police say interim investigation established strong ties between drug couriers. Ndlea officers want drug law agencies officers to investigate indicted officers. The leading picture here on this day newspaper, deepening relationship between Tony Elumelu Foundation and the EU. That's a picture of the group chairman, United Bank for Africa, and founder Tony Elumelu Foundation, Mr. Tony Elumelu, and the Executive Vice President, European Union, Margaret Vestager, at a bilateral discussion between TEF and the EU. More headlines here on this day newspaper. Abba Shola tears into Tinubu, accuses him of playing God, says Ambode's treatment will be meted out to Yetola in Osun State. Also, the NNPC completes withdrawal of methanol-blended petrol from circulation. That's what they say. Above the nameplate of this day this morning, Emefiele, it's Buhari's prerogative to plan his succession, and says he's focused on supporting federal government's economic recovery drive.
The nation is leading with Abba Kyari for extradition to U.S. after Ndlea probe. It also says it has an exclusive on how the presidency forced the Inspector General of Police to release him to the anti-drug agency Ndlea. Let's take a look at some of the other headlines on the front page. ASU grounds varsities for 4 weeks. Parents, students tell federal government to act on demand. Right beside that, excitement over new Olubadan. Buhari hails Balogun's appointment. And Osun APC primary, guns, boom. Panic in Oshogbo, the capital. Aregbeshola's roadshow turns Ori. Oyetola takes consultation to Ejigbo.
These are the headlines. In The Guardian, Nigeria's drug law enforcement agency releases shocking details of Kyari's drug deals. ASU ruffles jam, Pantami as it fires 4-week warning strike. That's the academic union in the universities. Aregbeshola rattled in Oshobo as suspected hoodlums attack convoy. And Soludo in Anambra State denies requesting applications for political appointments.
And the Punch newspaper this morning also leading with drug business. Police tackle Ndlea agency detains Abba Kyari and 4 others. The Ndlea says Kyari runs drug cartel that passes through Brazil, Ethiopia, and Nigeria. Above the nameplate of the Punch this morning, ASU begins 4-week rollover strike as government oppose action in state universities. Meanwhile, PDP governors accuse the federal government of insincerity and duplicity in dirty fuel saga.
Well, look at some of the foreign papers this morning, beginning with the Times. It's leading with Prime Minister Boris Johnson insisting diplomacy still possible despite escalating tensions in Ukraine.
The Daily Express, final warning Putin, it's peace or you pay a high price.
And the iNewspaper, last-ditch efforts to stop war in Europe as residents of Kiev prepare air raid shelters, and Russia suggests that dialogue is still possible.
Well, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello for analysis of this front pages. Good to see you, Emmanuel. Good morning. This day, leading with wanted Super Cup Abba Kyari, 4 others in Ndlea custody over drug dealing. I guess the country was sort of held spellbound yesterday, but we've been following this case, Emmanuel, for a while now. Just a couple of days ago, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, in an interview, said there were plans to extradite the former Super Cup to the U.S. to answer for his case, or his alleged involvement with Abbas Ramon, popularly known as Hush Puppy, in his case in the U.S. It's a clear case of hero to zero, isn't it?
Yes, and his fans, but, and he had quite a following in the past. People who called him this name, Super Cop, and all that. But when at the start of his travail, Abba Kyari, a lot of people thought, oh well, it's a setup, and maybe those who didn't like his rise in the, and you know, he has this past of really, you know, with the case dealing with all sort of cases, criminal cases. And then yesterday it was a total shock for everyone. For a very long time, nobody was hearing about him again, or even the hush puppy and what was going on and all of that. Then suddenly, yesterday, almost like you know, like a thriller, this is the sort of things that movies are made out of. From, and you can see the details in almost all the newspapers these days capturing very well. You see some of the stories there, and you begin to wonder. You know, it gives you an insight into how some of these things happen. It gives you an insight into how deep-seated some of the problems you're talking about are. As you read and read and read the details, and you look at the stories again, and you look at various angles of this story, you actually become emotional. You are overcome with all sorts of things, fear, worries, and even to some extent, maybe at least a little bit of pity on how, you know, this the tragic fall, the hero to zero story, this was, you put it, of this particular person, and you know, quite a colorful figure in the past with fans all around. But these details are so scary, and some of the words, you know, like the Ndlea people were saying yesterday, some of the things he said about the force, the fact that he has got a team that specializes in some of this kind of work, also gives you an insight into how terrible, you know, this should call for a deeper, serious, deeper look into what's happening in the force that we pay, you know, the force that is running on taxpayers' money. And it's a story of concealment, of double face, of double dealing, of real deep-seated crisis that we need to really look into deeply. If Abba Kyari, you know, who's seen to be the poster boy of probity, transparency in fighting criminality. If he can be dragged this low to this extent, and if it is true, then, you know, it's certainly something that should worry everyone. So within the ranks of the police, what's going on? And these are the sort of questions Nigerians are asking. These are the sort of questions begging for answer. The more you look at this story, but now again, the police saying that, well, he will be, who knows whether as he goes to the US, we're going to hear more of what is happening. But this story, it's running in all the newspapers. It's so disturbing, and it's an important story because it gives you an insight into you know, how the rots that we're dealing with in the country, especially as we you know, battle the crisis of drugs and other criminality.
Emmanuel, it takes us back to a question I posed to you some days ago about the efficiency of the institutions in the country. Now, this man was supposed to be extradited to the United States for alleged crimes in association with another criminal in the US. And since then, there are allegations that he still had access to members of the Nigerian police force, engaging them in his personal activities. And till date, we still don't know what's going on with that extradition. And also, some time ago, he was taken to the National Assembly and giving some form of award. Why have we not heard that that award has been withdrawn up until this moment?
As you read the story yesterday, these are the sort of questions that you know assails your mind, and you begin to wonder. I mean, so all this while, the Super Cup was still, you know, in cahoots or working hand in gloves with his team, because he calls them his boys. He said they're very loyal to. Very, very loyal. That's his words. They're very loyal to him. And so you begin to wonder, like you, Kenneth, as you were wondering to, or what's happening to the institution. And it took the president, you know, the Ndlea boss had to actually get some kind of presidential backing before any kind of arrest was made. It's disturbing. It tells you that, look, there are special people. He should have been treated like any other ordinary Nigerian right after, you know, those first last year when those issues were coming out, and when when he left the police. And now even some of the Ndlea staff, people saying that they are scared for their lives because of it. Some wondering whether they are also safe because of his connection. So that's why I said that this story has all sorts of ramification to it. It took the presidency from the story we're reading to actually give an order for his arrest yesterday. So how powerful can any accused be? So yes, you're right. These are issues begging for answers, and that's how the police force could actually still be, involved with a man that, they're suspended, practically sacked, and then he has access to them. He gives them orders from the outside. Tells you that, look, something is really, really wrong with how the system operates. And like I say, it's not a story that should just go away. It's one that we should follow so seriously and see where it's headed.
This day newspaper has this one headline: NNPC says they completed withdrawal of methanol-blended petrol from circulation. But the Punch says marketers are complaining of adulterated PMS trapped in filling stations, while the PDP is accusing the federal government of insincerity, duplicity in dirty fuel saga. Here in Abuja, we're still witnessing lots of fuel scarcity, long queues, petrol stations shut, saying they still have adulterated fuel. Which way do we go, Emmanuel?
You're forced to agree with those who are saying that there's duplicity and some kind of, the presidency is holding back information, and everything is still shrouded in mystery. Nobody even understands what's going on anymore. What you understand is the fact that the queues are still there and biting very hard. In Abuja, it's horrendous. You need to see the anguish, the suffering, just to get by. So those are the sort of things that Nigerians are dealing with and asking questions. And you have all these conflicting talks out there by officials of the NNPC that they've moved out all the adulterated fuel, and that they're bringing in better supplies. You hear all these stories and you look at the facts on the ground not matching what the officials are telling us, and you begin to wonder whether the government is not dribbling us like it's dribbled ASU. I'm sure a story will come to later. But so there's a lot of back and forth around the story of this fuel, and it's becoming scandalous by the day that Nigerians are forced to witness one of the most horrendous period of their lives. Adulterated fuel. One had those long queues still there. Earlier today, the network was reporting the terrible agony Nigeria we are going through just to queue up and buy at 400 naira in most cases, sometimes 500 naira per liter. These are the sort of things, sort of the horrendous images you have there, and nothing, no word, no reassurances, no back and forth by government officials will bring any closure to this until people really have access to fuel in a country that boasts of the substance.
Well, very quickly, it was quite the sour gift the tertiary university teachers gave the students yesterday in Nigeria, declaring that 1 month strike for the sector. We've also been watching that space. I wonder if you have a thought on that. But let's look at the stories making the rounds on international papers as well. It's the Ukraine-Russia border crisis. The US President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Boris Johnson had a call yesterday. They still think that diplomacy can work. Russia also still denying that it has any plans to invade its neighbors. Meanwhile, we have a tentative date. The US says it's tomorrow. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's the kind of confusion you find around the issue. On one hand, Russia saying that it's not going to invade, and then, of course, even with the president himself of Ukraine actually saying that, look, don't antagonize our partners and our neighbors. We don't think that an invasion is going to happen. And with some even, citizens refusing to leave, some British citizens refusing, adamantly staying back in Kiev and saying that they are not leaving. And so nobody really knows what's happening. But again, we probably will to see the triumph of diplomacy, since talks are still going on, and the Russian Foreign Secretary also giving indication that, look, they are open for more talks. So maybe with more diplomacy, with more understanding, maybe we can avert this crisis. And of course, ASU, like you noted, has gone on this warning strike with the Labour Minister not even saying what I want him to say. He said it's an illegal vacation. That's not what you tell people that are asking you to keep your promises, to stay with your promises. It's wrong to tell them that they are going on an illegal vacation. I think this has to be resolved too.
Very grateful for your delivery this morning, Emmanuel Bello.